there's also one thing I want to bring up is that we are very fortunate in this town to have a wealth of volunteers. Yeah. And I think we have to attract these volunteers to come and help the town out. And I think one way is to reduce our reliance on consultants. We pay a lot of money for outside consultants. Years ago, when I was first on the Board of Finance, I represented the Board of Finance on the Insurance Committee. Now, the Insurance Committee was made up, again, of professionals in town in law, insurance, finance, to name a few professions. And they would advise the town on our insurance coverage and also help the town get the best premiums that we could for our coverage. That insurance committee was disbanded several years ago. And I don't know why we haven't reactivated it, but that's one of the things I would do.
If you're elected, you plan to?
Yes, I do, because I want to rely less and less on consultants. I'm not making friends out there with the consulting community, but I'm looking out for the town people and for the taxes. We had one of the most recent plan a couple of years ago was our economic plan of development. Very good plan. But I have been asking around town with our town employees, could we have done this plan in-house? And the answer is yes, and saved $46,000. So that's another aspect that, again, we have to look at. How much we're spending on consultants when we can draw upon our own townspeople to volunteer and help us. They're out there. They want to help.
Yeah. They do, and I think they've come forward in a lot of instances, and they definitely would do more of that. And a number of folks have spoken to me and Joe, and I know Charlie and I have talked about this, that that they've offered their services and to no avail, to no response, And again, just to go back, that I think there's a lot of talent and resource here that can be tapped and utilized, and people want to be involved. They want to make the town a better place because we all live here. Right. And the better we do, the better our taxes are, the better services we have, the happier people are, and the better town we have. So what's the downside for anybody to be part of it? There isn't any. And then on top of it, not to sound all altruistic or esoteric, but there's a sense of community and being part of something. And I think, people talk about Guilford being this great community. That's what a community is about, sharing individuals, sharing ideas, getting together, working towards a similar goal.
Collaborating, that sort of thing.
To get on the specifics of both what Cindy and Joe just said about communication, and I'll segue into consultants in a second. A few weeks ago, the League of Women Voters had a forum on regionalization. I won't get into the specifics of it. I think it's airing on GCTV, as a matter of fact. But their primary speaker was, I think, the first selectman or mayor of Simsbury, and they were getting into fairly esoteric forms of regionalism where they wanted to work together and change the laws in Hartford. And that's a good thing, too, and maybe you can work towards that as a long-term goal. But on a local level, as I listened throughout the forum, I was thinking, we're already in a regionalized situation at the transfer station, at the library. If they don't have your book, the next day you have it from some other library throughout the state. I'm on the board of the Regional Water Authority, where most of the property in their watershed in North Guilford feeds the water supply. Yes, it isn't our water supply, but they own the land and it is Guilford land. But regionalization, whether it be consultants, they just went through, Madison just went through hiring consultants for the airport property. Well, I'm sure those are the same consultants that we hired for the Goss property for open space. I don't know if they were specifically the same, but they had the same issues, and when you're actually doing the planning and the bonding, those are the kinds of things that we could work together with towns around us. And I think that just opens it more to communications and savings.
Charlie, I want to ask you a question. We just briefly touched, Joe mentioned economic development and the consultants. You were on the Economic Development Commission. We often hear in town, oh, there's really nothing we can do locally. It is what it is, and the rock pile is what it is. What are your views on economic development, and how do you see yourself helping us to move that along as best we can?
Well, there is no question. A lot of the things that affect economic development in any community are really outside the forces, of the economy that we really don't have control over. But what we do have control over is what happens in our community, okay? There will always be certain developers that have to be by an exit of the turnpike, have to be on Route 1, have to be by the waterfront, and things like that. And the key that we have is we have these empty spaces, and everybody's nervous about it, and we have to be very careful. We have good, strong regulations. We have to hold on to them and make sure that the ones that we get are long-term and are going to do it right. Because, whether it be the Fonticello property, the Rock Pile property, CVS apparently is doing the Fleshman's property. But each one of those are going to be major portions of our town that are going to be in this community for a long time. And we have to make sure that they do it right. And when Jackie Simonetti, our economic development liaison officer, or whatever her specific title is, I mean, she's been working very hard. She has a newsletter trying to foster local businesses, and the inquiries probably are very slow now, I'm sure, but we have to be very careful that we just don't jump on anything, and that we really make sure that we're looking at long-term valuable assets for the community.
This is another area where I think the first selectman has to get involved. When we as a town, and particularly the Economic Development Commission and our economic specialist, Jackie Simonetti, who you just mentioned, if we target a company or a business, I think the first selectman has to work hand in hand with our economic specialists and the Economic Development Commission and be the lead salesman for the town of Guilford. If this particular business, commercial operation, is a good fit, we believe it can meet all the regulations, the first selectman should be going out there and meeting with these people and bringing them into the town and showing them what a great town this is and asking, how can we help you to come to Guilford? I think that's another duty of the first selectman.
Well, and I think it goes, go ahead, Charlie.
Well, the other point is, after we sell Guilford to a developer or vice versa, also bringing, the first selectman could bring together the different departments, whether, police, zoning, inland wetlands, everything, and just, spell out, bring the developer and everybody into the room and say, okay, this is what has to happen. Are you going to do it? Are you capable of doing it? And then what are the roadblocks? What do we have to fix, and what do we have to fix them now, not 6 months later or a year later?
I think I'll just go one step beyond that, and before we seek these businesses or these target firms that we want to bring in, that we meet with the boards you just suggested and make sure that we're not spinning our wheels.
Right.
And then I'm not gonna go and waste the town's time and the first selectman's time and entice these people to come here only to get shot down by one of the regulatory agencies because we didn't do our homework beforehand.
There's two things that have come to mind listening to your conversation. I think some folks get concerned, that we perhaps as Republicans are, we want to build nuclear power plants on every spare lot that there is in town. I think Charlie eloquently said it, and Charlie served on the P&Z. And Cindy, I wanted to direct the question to you. You're the former chairperson of the P&Z. And I always took note that when you were chairperson, we didn't all of a sudden see, a Home Depot and every other dreaded business in the world coming here.
Right.
You seemed to be a good shepherd of it during your tenure. What is your thought, and I guess specifically on the rock pile? Everybody talks about the rock pile. My view as a layperson with no experience was that just took awfully long, and it should have been done.